All right, people, we're back another week, another episode of Lost Season 3, Episode 4, entitled Every Man for Himself. And while we are still on a little bit of the dragging its feet section of the season, we are finally starting to make a little bit of strides forward. This time we get the Sawyer episode, and basically the subheading. I feel like with each one of these episodes so far in Season 3, we need to come up with like a little subheading of each episode. Episode 1, Tale of Two Cities, a.k.a. Jack's sad because of his dad. Episode 2, The Glass Ballerina. Son's maybe not that great of a person. And also, she unintentionally drew first blood. Episode 3, Further Instructions. Locke feels bad about betraying the island and now has to save Echo to redeem himself. And now episode 4, Every Man for Himself, a.k.a. the others fucking with Sawyer for 43 straight minutes or however long this episode was. Because that's pretty much what happened. Oh, we also got a little bit of a side quest of Desmond continuing to show his clairvoyant abilities along with some more tension, some more division within the others, if you will. Also, you may have figured out why it is that you may have figured out what it is that the others want with Jack at the very least, you know, and you may realize that while Sawyer and Kate may have just been being held there just because, there is a reason for why Jack is there. So overall, I think you were a little bit more positive on this week's episode than me. I think I like last week's episode just a little bit more, mostly because whenever it's Locke, like getting into some crazy stuff and like taking ayahuasca randomly and going into sweat lodge and communicating with the island and some really, really, really terrible mid-2000s CGI. We're always in for something really entertaining. But what did you think of this week's episode?
No, I really enjoyed it. I think it was one of my almost more favorite episodes of the whole show for whatever reason, especially this. Like the first three, like they were okay, but this was the first one which had some actual bite to it, you know, getting more because one side of the island is definitely more interesting. Actually, one side of two islands at this point. As we have learned,
as we have learned, we kept figuring out, they're like, how is it the others are constantly able to evade our main group of survivors? And now we know, because it turns out that they've been operating on an entirely other island this whole time.
Yeah, but no, I thought it was really dynamic. It was an episode where everyone needs something from each other, and it's this back and forth of like, you need this, but I need this, so you're gonna give me this, I'm gonna give you this. And like Jack with the surgery, and Sawyer with his little side plot with the pacemaker. And at this point, I'm finding myself like more actively trying to predict what's going to happen in this episode and further episodes. So I got something's right, something's wrong in this episode. So especially with the pacemaker, I thought that might lead to a scene later on, but we'll get to that when we cover it.
Yeah, like I said, this is not the season 2 in the sense of season 2 had the one device, for lack of a better word, that kept you locked in for the whole season, versus this season, it's a lot more it's sort of back to more character-driven. It's a lot more psychological in nature. Now that it's pretty much become us versus them, it really is more so, again, keeping them shrouded as much in mystery as humanly possible. And this time, as you know, Sawyer, who's been actively trying to escape this entire time, has been needing an incentive to kind of not, if you will. You know, the others needed a way to kind of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Take down their rabid dog, if you will. You know, calm down the rabid dog, if you want. A little callback to Breaking Bad there. And they finally figured out the way, which was not necessarily to, you know, actively physically restrain him, but to psychologically restrain him. And it ties in well with his flashbacks as well, wherein we're following Sawyer in jail after the events of the long con in season 2. Once again, kind of starting to piece together the pieces of everybody's backstory and chronology now that we're on 3 seasons worth. And with Sawyer, it's definitely clear. I like how the bits that we got with the characters in season 1 were like little like bits of like the end right before they got on the plane. And now we've like, you know, backtracked and gone further. So like, you know, last week was interesting because that was kind of the origin of all of Locke's trauma, you know, where everything started to go wrong with him, where, you know, just this random commune where he screwed up and got kicked out. And now with Sawyer, it's ironic that the first 3 episodes of the season were showing, the other characters kind of, you know, not being their best selves, ultimately, you know, making some very obvious mistakes. And the irony being that Sawyer's backstory was him kind of sort of trying to do the right thing, but unintentionally, because of course he's just in the flashbacks. The Sawyer's flashbacks are always about how he was, like I said, tying into the name of the episode, Every Man for Himself, versus but now he's unintentionally doing a good deed, sort of, by, trading the location of all this money that this one guy stole from the government for his freedom, ultimately, while he's in jail. And then in this episode, he's kind of sort of doing the same thing where the others do this thing where they take him, they trick him into thinking that they've attached a pacemaker, which will cause his heart to explode if it goes above a certain amount of beats. Very Incredible Hulk-esque, if you will. I wonder where the Incredible Hulk borrowed that from, especially since that movie only came out, I want to say 16, 17 months after this episode aired back in 06. So that was pretty funny. But also, I do find it, again, just a little bit of a plot hole in the sense of I don't think that's how pacemakers work. If anything, it's pacemakers are designed to make sure that your heart doesn't go below a certain amount of beats, not above it. So I just thought that was pretty funny. But again, it was no. Clearly, Sawyer was not thinking clearly. He was thinking oh my god, I'm gonna die ultimately. And
yeah, I'm not a doctor or expert on pacemakers, but I thought, okay, they probably didn't put a pacemaker, and they're probably just tricking him. But if they did, I thought that was going to lead to a really climactic scene where Jack has to get it out of him, and that was going to be
a very effective Schrodinger's cat, if you will. And the other thing too that's also interesting about this episode is that even though we don't see Sun, Jin, or Saeed in this episode at all, the effects of their actions are very much felt throughout it, as the kind of the dynamic push of this episode is them trying to save the Paul and Malcolm's and other Colleen's life. And unfortunately, well, we see how that goes to the end. Like I said, when I said Sun drew first blood, I meant it. And oh boy, there was a lot of blood in this episode.
And then there was a cool moment of like when they bring her in, Sawyer's like, no, this was us. He knows that the others are capable enough, and that if anyone's gonna get something over on them, even as minor but not minor as this, it would be one of them. So that's starting to connect the two storylines there.
Again, it is very interesting how, again, despite the whole different, there may be more similarities between them in that than we originally thought. Ultimately, obviously, again, the whole goal of these first couple of episodes has been to break down the facade. We spent the first 2 seasons thinking that they were these mindless savages, and now it turns out that no, not only are they smart, not only are they organized, not only are they way more well advanced than we thought, but they have been here a long time. They know this island better than us, and ultimately, this is war. How Sawyer kind of never loses sight and focus of that, despite the fact that their best effort that they've tried to do on Jack, ultimately, Sawyer has not lost sight of that. And it is and again, there is a reason why the others specifically select him in order to perform this psychological experiment on, especially since Ben admits to him at the end, he's like, we never did it to control you. We use Kate. We use that in order to kind of control Kate. We know that you two are kind of weak in the knees, if you will, for each other. Once again, Ben Line is pulling those little strings, pulling those manipulations.
I love him as a villain. He's sure, he's not that physically imposing. He does hit Sawyer with the stick a bit, but
that was a little bit unrealistic though. To see where Ben comes to get him in the jail,
this skinny guy who's Sawyer's a foot taller than him, but you gotta give him those.
And I thought it was so funny too how he just once again does the classic others thing of just answering random questions that have absolutely nothing to do with the points that are being thrown at him, and then he's like, "Okay, fine, I'm 35." Then Sawyer tries to do the whole shock collar polar bear thing, and it's we turned it off. Then he so easily manhandles him. But again, just the physics of that, I'm like, Michael Emerson, Josh Holloway, it's a little bit of a height and a weight and age difference there. So, and one's clearly going to have the advantage fighting wise over the other. And I'm just why did Ben come by himself? Shouldn't he have at least brought Tom or Pickett or any one of the others that are there? But I digress. Like I said, the ploy works ultimately. Ben shows Sawyer the other island that they're staying on. So, like I said, more revelations started to trickle in. What's it called? Colleen ultimately does not make it, which of course sends Pickett on the warpath. He starts beating the ever-living shit out of Sawyer. That will not be the last time that happens as well. But another big reveal as well is Jack noticing the pictures when he's brought in to help operate on Colleen, and he notices, he's like, wait a minute, what are those spinal pictures? And Juliet, all that Juliet tells him is like, don't worry, those aren't hers, and she dies anyways. But he's like, okay, he quickly puts 2 and 2 together near the end. He's like, okay, look, I know you didn't operate. You didn't bring me here just to operate on Colleen. That was an accident. You needed me. You were kind of this whole accident kind of forced your hand, and this was not how this was according to plan. But there just so happens to be one of you with a spinal tumor that needs to be removed, and I just happen to be a spinal surgeon. So how long have you been spying on me, and who is it that you need me to heal? Because now, like I said, Jack, despite the fact that he's been locked in this brig for God only knows how long now, he is not dumb, and now he's seen just enough to understand, oh, this is why I'm here now.
Yeah, because the others also, like, what it does good is that they're not completely like invincible. Like their crash cart is broken, or they don't have one, something like
Yes.
that. And they need a spinal surgeon, as we saw. So who is that? There's obviously a few options. Like Ben Line is probably one of them. Don't tell me who it is.
I will not say.
We'll see who it is. But yeah, I like that scene of Jack, like when someone's like in their zone, like he just locks in. He's like, yes, this is
Yep.
what I do. And yeah, I think I want to backtrack a bit to the Sawyer getting beat up moment, because they have a bit of a lover's quarrel there, where Kate's like, yes, I love him, and then later she says that I only said that so he'd stop beating you up. So
once again,
clearly
more
that's
classic Kate misdirection.
Yeah,
we all know at this point.
Yeah, that's the driving will they won't they of this season. I take it. So plenty of romantic story fuel there for the writers to keep going back to. But yeah, Kate's just
Exactly.
and she can climb out of the cage.
Yeah, I was about to say,
suddenly.
I'm like, so wait, so she can climb out of the cage the whole time? When did she figure that out? Like, come on.
And then obviously the cameras shows them like, yeah, they know all along. And then obviously the end is like, hey, you have nowhere to run. So we know she wanted to run.
But also, I wanted to talk about as well the fact that it's like more division in the others, where it's like, oh, it may not just be Juliet. Like, we know that Juliet despises Ben for pretty obvious reasons, considering the fact that he's just a lying, manipulative, and cunning person. But also, I love how too where Tom is also starting to outline some of the issues to Ben. He's like, look, Pickett is like, Colleen's dead. Pickett is not going to be happy. He's like, and also he's like, what else did he say? I already forgot. He's like, oh, should we separate him? Something like that. Or I don't remember. But I love how Tom too, every time they let go, Tom is always like super courteous to Kate. And like, he always has that playful back and forth with Sawyer. Then you have Pickett, who's just an asshole. Like, I like how, again, that like, even though the others are supposed to be like this unified force that control this like one entirely separate island, apparently they still like have their little micro divisions. They should know they are people. They are characters ultimately at the end of the day. They have their beefs. They have their issues as well. So really the only other major subplot that we have, again, very, very quick check-in in our camp, really nothing other than to show that like, oh, Desmond is just randomly wandering around the beach, talking with other people, getting random items. You're not quite sure what's going to do. I mean, he talks to Claire at the beginning. He's like, oh, you should really fix the roof of your shelter. Claire's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's super nice and bright out. And then he takes one of Paolo's golf balls again, just throw it in Paolo. It's like, oh, now we're randomly focusing on this guy now. Okay, we're doing that. And so he takes one of the golf clubs. He sets it up as a random lightning rod just out of nowhere, one of those freak flash storms, and it absorbs the lightning. And it's like, oh, okay, so what's going on here? So real quick, you've been very, very good in your predictions so far. And we know that obviously the explosion at the hatch gave Desmond some sort of weird clairvoyant ability. So this is the first of a couple instances. What do you think that he's doing here?
But he's probably testing his own abilities. Like this is the if we were to use some superhero language here, this is the training montage bit where he's testing out his powers to see if he calls it just experiment. And clearly he's saying, okay, he saw this lightning flash and he's gonna see if he can redirect it, and then that confirms his suspicion. So he's gonna keep doing this probably for a little bit. So, and I'm sure that will become important later on in the season. With it just depends how far ahead or how accurate his clairvoyancy is,
So the clairvoyancy angle for Desmond, which I will say also brings us into season 4 as well, is very interesting because, again, it leads to probably one of the best episodes of Lost of all time, and one of people have regarded as one of the best episodes. That's season 4, episode 5, The Constant, which, again, I will continue to highlight as we go forward. But it is quite interesting how, again, Desmond's abilities unfold throughout not only this season and next season, but also the course of the show, especially since Desmond is not the only character that's shown to have supernatural abilities. But I guess the difference is that Desmond gains his supernatural abilities as a result of having been exposed to the electromagnetic energy that's been pulsing underneath the hatch for however long he was there. He was there for what, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. He was there for a long time. So ironically, I will say also, it's a little bit of spoiler territory, but that's how he's able to survive not only the explosion, especially since he was so close to the source of the energy. Locke and Echo were far enough away, they were able to get blown away by it. But Desmond was literally right there at the source, and it's the only reason why he was able to survive, because otherwise that would have killed him. But what's interesting is how they choose to go about showing it, because season 3 is ultimately just about showing what he's capable of before season 4 really dives into like the full scope of his abilities and shows just like, oh, how that's affecting him, especially like once we get down to it from a character standpoint. So what I'll say is that season 3 unfolds in like a bunch of Final Destination-esque scenarios where he's ultimately going out of his way to use his abilities to save one character. I'll let you figure out who that is. But I will say it leads to one of the more heartbreaking lost moments. And if you ask me, it's why I think probably of all of the season finales, season 3 is probably my favorite and the best. But season 3 is the one where it's like, again, you're sort of half right, where he is showing, you know, what he's capable of with his new abilities, while at the same time, like, it is building towards a plotline that will have a very satisfying, if not tragic payoff, if you will. And once again, kind of that whole free will versus predestination, predetermination sort of thing that they're going for. But yeah, so lots of foreshadowing there, but it will all make sense once we make it to the end of this season. But what's it called? Because like I said, it starts off as like simple clairvoyance, and then it kind of turns into, in a way, Damon Lindelof's audition tape for why he was the only person that could have done the Watchmen miniseries. I'll let you figure that out once we get to the concept. But this I very, very much enjoy the foreshadowing that they're doing with Desmond. I think it's a much better thing than just like kind of throwing him in the back end at the last minute and be like, oh, get it? His entire character trait is running from everything. Get it? That's how we ended up on the island. It's like, okay, like, all right. Oh man! So, any quick last minute final thoughts before we dive into the movie that I watched yesterday?
Not much, except that the Desmond clairvoyant thing. I hope it leads to a difficult choice that he has to make at some point. That maybe he has to choose between two impossible options, and then that's the crux of that.
Yes and no. Yes and no. It
Perfect.
does lead
that's exactly the answer that I want.
It does lead to an impossible choice, but it may not be him that has to make it. I'll leave it at that. I will leave it at that. Like I said, it's the one good thing that I will say about Lost is Lost always keeps you on your toes, and the answers to the mysteries are never ever straightforward. So now to bring it into the important stuff. So I watched a movie yesterday, Luke, and I don't know if and when you're getting this movie, but I highly, highly recommend that you watch it as soon as possible. I'll admit it's not sci-fi, it's not supernatural in any way, shape, or form. But it is. I got to see this movie a week early. It opens wide officially next week. I saw it at the Brooklyn Academy of Music last night. It is Caught Stealing, Darren Aronofsky's 9th feature film starring Austin Butler, Regina King, Zoe Kravitz, Vincent D'Onofrio, Liev Schreiber, Griffin Dunn, Matt Smith. There's a lot of people in this movie. And let me tell you, this is Darren Aronofsky's Snatch. It is fucking awesome. It is crazy. It is wild. It is nutso. It is sexy. It is hilarious. It is tragic. It is a grisly crime thriller that does not shy away from the absolute brutality that comes from messing with certain groups of gangsters and criminals in New York City circa late 1990s. Austin Butler is currently in his Brad Pitt moment here. Like literally, like he's not quite doing a Brad Pitt impression, but it is so reminiscent of that specific era of Brad Pitt in the late 90s that it is absolutely uncanny. Like I said, I don't know if and when you guys are getting this movie, but I highly, highly recommend it. It is this ranking will probably change, but as of right now, it is my number 2 movie of the year after Sinners. It was that good. I need to give a shout out. So the scene stealers for the supporting players, obviously Austin Butler, I truly think gives one of the best lead performances of the year in this movie. But the supporting scene stealers, Zoe Kravitz, Matt Smith, are both spectacular, phenomenal in this. Matt Smith as well gives a very, very entertaining, bumbling comedic performance. He is not at all Daemon Targaryen in this, but I need to give a shout out to this one actor. Who's in this movie. So there's a pair. I don't know if you saw the trailer. Did you see the trailer for this real quick?
I will say I've seen the trailer so many times it's turned me off the movie.
Yes. So I was right there with you. I was right there with you.
Boy.
I was right there with you. I'm like, oh my God, this fucking trailer. Is this movie actually going to be good? And it was. It takes all the scenes that you saw in the trailer and recontextualizes them in such a way that, so basically in order to give a premise as far as what this movie is about, Austin Butler is a bartender working in 1998, Lower East Side, kind of just like living there, slumming his life. The whole bit with his character is that he's getting over previously having been a major, basically he was a baseball player in high school, was on his way to joining the pros, got into a really, really bad car accident that actually killed his best friend, and as a result has kind of been like, dragging his feet ever since. It ends up getting into a situation when his neighbor, played by Matt Smith, who he has no idea what he's doing. All he knows is that Matt Smith tells me he has to fly back to London to look after his dad and to look after his cat. All of a sudden, these two Russian gangsters show up looking for Matt Smith. They beat the shit out of Austin Butler, thinking that he knows where he is. And Austin Butler ends up finding himself in the middle of a scenario in which Matt Smith owes a lot of money to a lot of different very bad people, including the Russians, corrupt cops, Hasidic Jews. Oh, man, it's absolutely gnarly, this movie. But I need to give a shout out to this one Russian henchman. So there are two Russian henchmen that show up, a short one and a tall one. The tall one, you can pretty much forget about. He's just an NPC. But this little guy, oh my God. This dude is like if you mix Yura Burasov, the bald Russian guy from Anora, with a fucking amped up pit bull. This dude, I can't even begin to describe the type of performance that this dude gives. But he is basically like, every moment he's like, oh, you like baseball, before he like beats the shit out of Austin Butler. And he's like, I can't describe it, but this dude is literally like, he's like on meth and amphetamines all at the same time. He's absolutely crazy. When he beats people up, he's like using his head. He's like literally attacks like a rabid animal. He's only like 4'5", and he has enough energy to take down like an entire army. This dude's name is Nikita Kukushkin. And I need everybody that is listening to this episode to remember that name when they see this movie. Because holy shit, I'm sorry, in terms of scene-stealing performances, he blows everybody else out of the water. Like every time, it's one of those performances where every time this dude shows up on screen, you're like, I need to know more about that guy. It was absolutely insane. I cannot recommend this movie enough. It was so goddamn entertaining. It was so brutally violent. They also, in a weird way, for anybody who's seen Enemy in the State, they do Zoe Kravitz exactly how they do her mom, Lisa Bonet, in that movie. You guys will know what I'm talking about when you see this movie, but it is spectacular. I cannot recommend this enough. I gave this is the easiest 4.5, almost 5 stars that I've seen almost all year. And it really sucks that it took Darren Aronofsky 15 years to make a movie this awesome, because Mother sucked and I was not that big of a fan of The Whale. But I'm very, very happy that Darren Aronofsky still has this type of a movie in him, because I was starting to get worried. It's been a long time since Black Swan, as we've seen since they're putting it in theaters again for its 15-year anniversary.
Well, I wasn't originally going to go see it. I was going to wait for it to show up on sites, but after this, because I haven't seen any reviews about it, because I guess it's not technically
It
out
hasn't
yet.
come out yet. Yeah, I saw.
No.
I saw it early, but yeah, it is that good.
Yeah, but I mean, of the Aronofsky films I have seen, Black Swan is like a top 15 all time for me.
Yeah.
I enjoy Mother for the batshit craziness that it is. I saw Noah when I was 12 in theaters.
Noah's his weakest movie. Like, that movie's fun, but yeah, when it comes to Aronofsky, I can officially say that this is in the canon. But when it comes to Aronofsky, it's really only 3 movies. I haven't seen Pi, his first movie, or The Fountain, which is that weird movie with Hugh Jackman that he did in between Requiem and The Wrestler. But with Aronofsky, it's only 3 and now 4. It's Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, Black Swan, and now this, Caught Stealing.
But apparently he's doing Cujo, but that's like perfect.
That's perfect for him. And also, funnily enough, back before Christopher Nolan got Batman Begins, he was one of the directors that was in the running for Batman Begins, which I find hilarious, because I'm like, oh my God, mid-2000s, could you imagine Darren Aronofsky directing a Batman movie? Who would even star in it?
There were so many bat scenes. Like,
it would be insane. It would be absolutely insane. Like the surrealism of it. It would be Batman Year One, directed by Jodorowsky, is what that movie would be. It would be absolutely insane.
But yeah, I will definitely be checking this out, because we get it next week. I checked.
Yeah,
so.
I would highly recommend it when we circle back, because what I'm thinking we do next week is, rather than us do Sunday, because we're doing the fall movie draft as well next Saturday. I think we just do Lost before that, and then you could also talk about Caught Stealing on there, because I'm going to see a couple of other movies as well before then. I'm actually going to see Splitsville and Lurker later today. I'm going to see and then I'm going to see Honey Don't, and I'm going to try and see Primitive War as well sometime this week. And I might see The Roses next weekend before I leave for Toronto, but I'm not sure. But real quick, just wanted to do a quick little bit of housekeeping business. So next week, we're doing the cost of living, and then we are doing a fall movie draft. That's right. Myself, Luke, Dustin, the Duster Mason, and a couple of other familiar and some new faces as well are going to hop off, and we are going to start talking about the fall movie season. August, the dog days of summer are coming to an end. We are almost to September. I will be leaving for Toronto International Film Festival. In fact, in 2 weeks, when we do season 3, episode 6, I will be broadcasting live from Toronto when we do that. See what I did there. But Yeah, so I will be streaming live. I'll be posting lots of shorts, lots of footage, some potential interviews as well from Toronto. It's going to be a good time. But make sure you guys tune in next week, Saturday, August 30th. You guys are not going to want to miss it. So we are going to be drafting in 5 categories. That's right, 5 categories. Each of the 6 of us are going to be drafting 1 blockbuster, 1 horror movie, 1 horror thriller, I should say, 1 potential Oscar contender, 1 film from an auteur filmmaker, and 1 wild card, which could be any movie that doesn't quite fit squeaky clean into one of those 5 categories. It's going to be a lot of fun. And the winner receive a prize? We will see once we do it next week. But Luke, where can the good people follow you on the interwebs?
I just hope we have enough movies.
Oh, we'll have enough. I went over trust me, I went over this selection many, many times. We have enough. It's any movie that gets any sort of a limited or theatrical release or Netflix release between September and December.
Well, there's a Latvian movie coming out from an auteur director, so I think maybe I'll draft that one. But anyway, you guys can find me at Look Reviews on YouTube. Which is weird. My goddamn Marvel edit has entered a 3rd prime. It's getting more views than ever. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I hope Macklemore is making plenty of money.
I told you my stupid I told you my stupid HBO shows rank that I posted 2 years ago when Succession ended has been the prime source of my new subscribers for the last 2 years now. You can't explain it. You post one video, it goes viral, and it's the gift that just keeps on giving.
Look, people just love disagreeing with takes on the internet.
They really do. That's why I'm really excited that, again, there's a reason why I'm waiting on that. I'm waiting until Doomsday and Secret Wars come out, and then I'm just going to post my one video ranking every single MCU movie, and I am so excited for the haters to come at me when they see how high I've ranked Captain Marvel, The Incredible Hulk, and how low I've ranked Ragnarok and Shang-Chi. I cannot wait.
Yeah, I've been sprinkling in some MCU rewatches of slowly but surely making my way up to Doomsday, because so I'm watching the good ones first, and then forcing out the bad ones.
I'm waiting until next year to hit that, because I wanna kind of sort of do a build up to Brand New Day, and I'm gonna kind of watch them more so out of order, because you know what the problem is because I've watched it all in real time. What happens is when I rewatch them from a specific era, I remember that era, and I remember my feeling from that era, and that still kind of conflicts with kind of maybe how my views on the movie have changed. So I'm going to try and watch this upcoming batch out of order, try and get the hits out of the way first. Cause my top 10 is my top 10, and I don't think that's changing, because as good as Fantastic Four was, that did not crack my top 10. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to frame my MCU list, but that will come either sometime.
But did you catch the Peacemaker episode?
Yes, I did. I liked it. It was definitely very much not a tone shift, but a vibe shift from the first season. And I need to see more. I need to see more I need to see more before I can make a definitive opinion. It was an opener. It was good. It was solid. But I'll admit, I wasn't paying a lot of attention. I love seeing Frank Grillo in this. I love the amount of stuff that I've seen Frank Grillo in the last year now. But him voicing that he basically wrote Creature Commandos, Superman, and Peacemaker all in one sitting, that did worry me. And I'm hoping that it's not the case, because Gunn usually doesn't let me down, but I am slightly worried that Gunn may have burned himself out entirely on Superman, and that Peacemaker season 2 may suffer as a result of it. Fingers crossed. I don't think that will happen.
He's very excited about the last 3 episodes. That's why he didn't send them to critics. So
yes.
I guess there's this one scene in the first episode where oh, well, if you're the boss of the studio, no one's going to tell you no.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But I will say, they straight up throw in the Justice Gang. They retcon out the Justice League, as we all know, as Twitter has constantly reminded us. And literally the crux of this season is going to be, him going into an alternate dimension where his family is alive and well and everything is fun. So, alternate dimensions. Wonder if we're going to get some fun cameos here. Wonder who could show up. But sky's the limit as far as Gunn goes when it comes to DC, as we all know. So you guys can follow me with everything going on at Movie Nerd Reviews across all platforms, at Official Talkin TV Podcast across all platforms. But be sure to tune in next week. Like I said, we're going live on Saturday, not Sunday next week. We're taking Labor Day off for Season 3, Episode 5, The Cost of Living, as well as the Fall Movie Draft. We'll see you guys next week, and get lost.